The witness observed Mr. Pitts throwing closed fist punches to the victim, who was lying on the floor. The victim attempted to defend himself and stop the assault by throwing a chair. Mr. Pitts was then seen yelling at the victim to stay down while continuing to throw punches. Mr. Pitts admitted to punching the victim in the head repeatedly each time the victim tried to get up, until Mr. Pitts eventually just walked away. IDOC found the witness credible. The victim was transported by ambulance to the hospital, but the head injury was so severe that he was transferred again to OSF St. Anthony's for a higher level of care.
Now, what you just heard is the description of a ticket, a write up, a fight that happened in 2022 with this inmate who is now looking to get paroled. Now, he's been locked up since 1979, 47 years for a random murder where he said he heard voices in his head telling him to do it. Now, they want to parole this man to an old age home where he will have access to other people who cannot defend themselves. All of this being said, with the previous write up for assault back in 2022. Now, this hearing I find to be fascinating in the sense that there are actually people that are vehemently advocating that he be sent to an old age home that perhaps your mother or your grandfather might be residing at. A man who just a few years ago beat another man so senselessly it almost killed him. Present day Mandoo here. I'm coming in to tell you that you may recognize this case, and that is yes, because we've played it before. The reason I'm playing it again is that there is an update to this case, a very important update. Now, if you haven't seen it, you can keep watching the entire thing because the update flows with time, so it's going to make the most sense for you. But if you have already seen his prior hearings, there are timestamps in the description for the update. Now, with that, let's jump in.
Eddie Pitts, number L01404, was interviewed in person at Lawrence Correctional Center on February 18th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Mr. Pitts was represented by pro bono counsel Carolyn Clarquist. Mr. Pitts was polite and open to questions, but he also showed some obvious frustration that appears to be rooted in not understanding why the prisoner review board hasn't released him at this time, and I'll go into that later. Mr. Pitts appears to be in good physical health. I might argue above average physical fitness, particularly given his placement in the healthcare unit and his age. Mr. Pitts explained his escalating issues with memory loss at the outset. The interview was not particularly linear. We did bounce around a little bit in subject matter. Ms. Clarquist was incredibly helpful in moving the interview forward and helping Mr. Pitts to recall certain events or facts. Mr. Pitts' holding offense is a 1977 conviction for murder out of Cook County with a 150 to 300-year sentence. His mandatory supervised release date is February 17th, 2117. With a maximum discharge date being August 17th, 2120. Mr. Pitts was 24 years old at the time of the offense. He's currently 72 and has been in IDOC custody for 47 years now. Mr. Pitts was last heard at en banc for parole consideration 6 months ago on October 31st, 2024. Statement of facts. On November 30th, 1976, the victim, Jerry Keene, worked for People's Gas Company and was making a service call at the time with another employee, Winston McCain. The service call was for a gas leak at the residence where the petitioner, as well as Edward Stewart, were present. All four individuals proceeded to the basement to inspect the furnace. The victim, Mr. Keene, had trouble removing the furnace panel, so his coworker, Mr. McCain, began to proceed upstairs to retrieve a screwdriver. Mr. Pitts then snuck up behind Mr. Keene and began stabbing him. When Mr. McCain heard Mr. Keene scream for help, he immediately returned to the basement and witnessed Mr. Pitts attacking Mr. Keene. He saw Mr. Pitts' arm around the victim's neck, hitting or stabbing Mr. Keene in the chest with his right hand. Mr. McCain ran outside to radio for help, and the petitioner fled, later disposing of the knife. Mr. Keene was found lying dead on the floor with bloodstains all over his body. He was transported to St. Bernard's Hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. It was determined that he had been stabbed 23 times in the back, neck, arm, chest, abdomen, and thigh. Mr. McCain gave the police a description of Mr. Pitts. Officers learned that Mr. Pitts was the attacker and had spent the night in a vacant building. He was arrested the next day. He was initially found unfit to stand trial. In 1977, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and transferred to the Illinois Department of Mental Health for treatment to restore fitness. He received treatment at multiple facilities until ultimately being declared fit to stand trial in 1978. On May 1st, 1979, the petitioner was evaluated by judge's order by the Forensic Psychiatric Program. He was diagnosed again with paranoid schizophrenia and partial remission with medication and was again deemed fit for trial. After returning to Cook County Jail and medication being discontinued, the petitioner admitted to a recurrence of disturbing auditory hallucinations as well as some suicidal thoughts. He stated the auditory hallucinations came from within, such as, quote, "Eddie, let me out." Despite the hallucinations, the petitioner was found to be fully aware of the charges against him, of the acts he had committed, which he ascribed to forces and pressures within him, and the nature of and purpose of the trial proceedings. Medications proved to improve his spirits while the hallucinations remained mild. Mr. Pitts pled not guilty by reason of insanity, which was not accepted, and Mr. Pitts was convicted by a jury and incarcerated in 1980. The state's attorney at the time argued that if Mr. Pitts were ever to be considered for parole, that he should receive a full mental health evaluation to be reviewed for civil commitment pursuant to the Mental Health Code. Mr. Pitts did appeal his conviction, and in 1982, the appellate court affirmed the conviction and the sentence. Mr. Pitts does seem to acknowledge the facts of the case, although we didn't discuss the details further this year. Mr. Pitts maintains that he is sorry for what occurred. He has historically shown remorse, including sorrow for the victim's family. In the past, he argued that he suffered from hallucinations that day and feared that someone was going to kill him. He felt the compulsion to kill them before they killed him, and described his hallucinations as perceiving the servicemen to be dogs and seeing Satan with the two dogs. Prior to the offense, Mr. Pitts describes being raised in a church that taught mysticism to him as a child. He states he grew up in a slave environment in the South where he picked cotton instead of attending school. He ultimately joined the Job Corps and traveled the country working construction in multiple states, including Kentucky, Florida, Mississippi, and eventually came to Illinois, Chicago, where he worked for the local 150. At different points in the interview, Mr. Pitts expressed his frustration with the Prisoner Review Board for not releasing him despite being in custody for 47 years. He does not believe that we as members are using our sense to properly determine threat levels. He argues that the Eddie who committed the crime is gone, and he is just an old man now. He stated he doesn't want to die in prison and that the board is treating him terribly. He later shared that the board is cheating him and that he struggles with our denials. He believes the board is doing him wrong intentionally, and he believes race may be a factor. Because Mr. Pitts seemed focused on the notion that the board's issue is rooted entirely on the holding offense, he was reminded that his 2022 violent assault ticket was a major factor in considering public safety. Mr. Pitts made it clear that he sees himself as the victim of that incident, having to defend himself from an attack. He stated that he was very frustrated with the October 2024 denial. As far as criminal history is concerned, Mr. Pitts's only prior offense on record includes a 1975 conviction for unlawful use of weapon, for which he was sentenced to probation, and then while on probation was arrested for an assault that was ultimately dismissed. Switching to his institutional adjustment, as for familial support and history, Mr. Pitts has no emergency contact or next of kin, but does maintain a visitor list. His last in-person visit was with his sister in May 2024, preceded by a visit from his nephew in April of 2024. Mr. Pitts does receive financial support from family. During the interview, Mr. Pitts had to be reminded that his brother had passed away recently. Mr. Pitts is incredibly physically fit for his age. I would argue. He states that he exercises regularly in order to stay alive, and those are his words, and describes his workouts as hundreds of repetitions at a given time. He did have a successful hernia surgery in October of 2024 and reports having some issues with a knot in his knee. At this time, I will make a motion for us to go to closed session to discuss any confidential matters, including any mental health history and confidential opposition. Aye.
Again, I'm going to have to ask you to leave and take all your belongings. You'll be invited back shortly.
Okay, I will pick up in his institutional adjustment. As for Mr. Pitts's programming, he was involved in arts and sports-related programming from the 80s to the early 2000s, with a preference for exercise, as he found it therapeutic. He is free to request academic program enrollment, but there is no indication that he has. Currently, he is waitlisted for Money Smart at the moment. As already mentioned, Mr. Pitt's disciplinary record continues to be a point of concern, largely stemming from the 2022 incident. He had 2 pages of tickets on the old forms, including multiple tickets in SEG for dangerous contraband, an assault of an inmate ticket, and gang activity. He has 2 pages from 2000 to present that include an 06 dangerous contraband ticket for an altered razor blade, a 2012 contraband for homemade ropes and an altered blanket, 2014 contraband for needles, 2021 major ticket for disobeying a direct order for refusing to enter a cell and lock up that resulted in 7 days of segregation. And lastly, a 2022 violent assault of a person ticket, which we have hinted at. The facts around that ticket include a witness observing the assault, which took place in the in the healthcare unit inside of a cell. The witness observed Mr. Pitts throwing closed fist punches to the victim, who was lying on the floor. The victim attempted to defend himself and stop the assault by throwing a chair. Mr. Pitts was then seen yelling at the victim to stay down while continuing to throw punches. Mr. Pitts admitted to punching the victim in the head repeatedly each time the victim tried to get up, until Mr. Pitts eventually just walked away. IDOC found the witness credible. The victim was transported by ambulance to the hospital, but the head injury was so severe that he was transferred again to OSF St. Anthony's for a higher level of care. The victim suffered from a brain bleed and required a craniotomy. During our interview, Mr. Pitts stated that he felt the need to defend himself. He claims the other individual threw a wheelchair at him. He felt as though the victim could have hurt him and therefore needed to protect himself from further attack. Mr. Pitts stated that the victim was 80 years old, but was very fit. He stated that he was scared of the victim and couldn't act like a coward. Later in the interview, he argued that the 2022 ticket was a plot against him to stop his parole. He stated the victim had a mental problem. He then admitted that he really couldn't remember much about the day of the ticket at all. It was clear his memory issues had made it difficult to recall any details surrounding the event. Mr. Pitts further made statements that he will protect himself. He will not let someone kill or harm him. When asked what he meant by those statements, Mr. Pitts clarified that he envisions protecting himself by ducking or covering himself. He argued he is in danger due to his age, both in the prison as well as out in the community. Per the offender overview done in December of 2024, the petitioner has not had any disciplinary reports since transfer to Lawrence. Mr. Pitts shared that he has enrolled in school at varying institutions over the years, but there isn't anything he is attending at the moment. He currently studies law on his own. He also has held a number of job assignments from the 80s through the 2000s. Per the offender overview again from December of 2024, Mr. Pitts is currently maximum security with no escape risk. He is also A grade in general population, although he resides in the infirmary unit. As far as parole plans are concerned, Mr. Pitts continues to maintain a parole plan based on admittance to Balmoral Nursing Home, which is a skilled nursing home with programs for mental health and dementia. This is an IDOC approved host site with residents who were released under the Joel Coleman Act. That said, there were concerns even 6 months ago about the facility not rising to the level of security needed for a patient like Mr. Pitts, based on recent events such as the violent assault, and concerns for the safety of both staff and other residents. Mr. Pitts stated he would like to be paroled to a place where he can work his mind, create things, and make art. Mr. Pitts has letters of support and offers of post-release services from NAMI Chicago, as well as the Illinois Prison Project. Cook County does oppose this petition, but I will let them speak for themselves here shortly. Mr. Pitt's first year of consideration for parole was in 1988. He has been heard 23 times prior to today, with the last hearing being on October 31st, 2024. He has received 3-year sets in 88, 99, 02, 05, 09, 13, and 16. Mr. Pitts began receiving votes in favor in 2019 when a motion to grant failed with a 3-8 vote. This was followed by a motion to deny prevailing with a 7-7 vote in 2020. A motion to deny prevailed by an 11-3 vote in 2021, and in 2022, a motion to grant failed by 3-5. Since the 2022 violent assault ticket, a motion to deny prevailed by 10-1 vote in 23, and a motion to deny prevailed with an 8-2 vote in 2024. With that, I will yield back to you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bolin? Hearing none. Have you been sworn in yet? And the state's attorney might want to be sworn in as well. She's already been sworn in. Go ahead.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you will give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Yep. Just an initial matter, I was not informed that the state's attorney had objected. I was not provided with a letter. Just so you're aware, the state's attorney has not objected until now. There is a new state's attorney in Cook County. It was elected in November. I assume it's related to the change. You know, like they say, elections have consequences. So I assume now that the state's attorney Burke is objecting, but I did not receive any notification of that. I can tell you, I'm glancing at it. I see they said his release would be cause a substantial risk. It's what I expect them to say. They also, I know you've been previous. I have not until now. Talking about the 2022 fight, which is 3 years ago, I'll talk about in a second. But again, you know, hey, elections have consequences. Now they're objecting. The prior state's attorney, as recently as October, did not object. So with that, yeah, thank you. But I would like a copy of that sent to me, please. Also, I did send to the PRB operations email to Mr. Bolin on April 17th about Eddie Pitts's updated parole plan. So I don't know, you know, we're told to send PRB operations email. If I don't have your email personally, I'm not going to infringe on your privacy and try and figure out what it is, although I have emailed with specific board members. But in that April 17th email, I informed the board via Mr. Bolin, which I put in the subject line email for Mr. Bolin, Eddie Pitts, that Mr. Pitts has now been admitted to Central Nursing Home, which is a sister facility of Balmoral, which a couple of the board members toured in October. And this is critical because it's information appears you don't have. I toured the facility on a couple days before that, along with Marion Seerig, who represents Mr. Pitts, is unable to be here today due to a family matter. But in that nursing home, Mr. Pitts will be confined to the second floor, which is for dementia patients and psychiatric patients. It's locked. This is essentially a slightly less version of what he's receiving right now, where he is in the infirmary listed as chronic infirmary status at Lawrence. So just some perspective, Central Nursing Home would first, upon his admission, have Eddie, and this is required by statute, be subjected to the Identified Offenders Program. That is for a risk assessment, okay? Illinois State Police and forensic psychologists from the Illinois Department of Public Health would assess him for any risk. He will be in his own room. That is without question. The staff at Central told Ms. Searing and I that is where he would be placed. They actually place all new residents in a single room, but given Mr. Pitts' history, which they're aware of, we sent them all the records that they requested, he would have his own room. It's on the second floor of this facility. The elevators have a code, which only the staff is privy to. Mr. Pitts has dementia, so even if he observed someone typing in the code, I don't think he would remember it. The doors are locked. It is staffed 24 hours a day, so someone would be watching Mr. Pitts. There is a staff psychiatrist, which is critical. The board is concerned about Mr. Pitts' history of mental illness, and there's no question that is what the offense itself, the holding offense, is related to, his history of schizophrenia. He is not getting any psychiatric treatment in Lawrence, presumably because Lawrence thinks he's doing okay. If Lawrence thought that Mr. Pitts was a safety risk due to his mental illness, they wouldn't currently have him in a suite in the infirmary with 3 other inmates. And he's been there since, I believe, late August. He also would have a general practitioner. As I said, he's on a floor of a dementia residence and mental illness individuals. And also, he would have an inability to check himself out of the facility. His nephew would be his power of attorney, and the staff told us he cannot leave the second floor without an attendant, staff member, approved list of people, which could be his attorneys, staff from NOMNI, which works with people with mental illness, staff from the Illinois Prison Project, their social worker has worked with Mr. Pitts. So he's not going anywhere. He's really on the second floor of this facility. So it is a step up from where he is currently, which I can tell you from a Sun-Times article published in the last few weeks, we spend $49,000 a year on each inmate in the Department of Corrections. And that's not with the full-time nursing care that Mr. Pitts is now receiving. So I don't know what the number is. You might know from doing Joe Coleman petitions, but it's huge. He is eligible for Medicaid. This is a Medicaid facility. They have space for him right now. I can't tell you in a year from now they will. If their Medicaid funding is cut, I don't know, but they can't accept him now. The other thing is he will have a parole agent. So the parole agent can also tailor what Mr. Pitts can and can't do. The parole agent can stop by at any time. The parole agent can search his room. Anyone on parole can have their room searched, their body searched. So he will be secure. And again, he will have a risk assessment done by the state police, law enforcement. So this is not a situation where Mr. Pitts, if granted parole, will be walking out the door of Lawrence. We feel like this parole plan is actually better than the one we had at Balmoral because, and I was on the floor, you can't get out of there, including me, unless you know the code. And he would actually get medical treatment, which I think you all have heard his case a few times, most of you by now. He is getting medical treatment in Lawrence, but the treatment for dementia is what it is. I'm not that familiar with it, but he certainly is not getting any psychiatric treatment. And he would see the staff psychiatrist within, days of his arrival. So I think that's very important. Right now, his diagnosis at Lawrence is dementia. He has some sundowning, which means he's up all night. And then, I don't know if anyone's familiar with dementia, there's sundowning, which means you're awake at night, excuse me, and then you're sort of awake during the day. His nursing diagnosis says impaired cognition, risk for fall injury. There's progress notes made twice a day by the nurses, and I would note that they always say he's calm, cooperative, pleasant. And I think that says something about Mr. Pitts in terms of him always being compliant with the staff and being told what he needs to be doing. So in addition to that, I do want to touch on, I know that the board is concerned because of the incident at Dixon. Understandable. The reports, there's a confidential informant who saw the offense as it was in progress. The confidential informant did not see what initiated the offense, the incident. We don't know. Mr. Pitts has always been consistent, much like what he said about the holding offense, is that this individual who was 80, he still is at Dixon, I looked. The guy threw a chair at him and called him a racially derogatory name, although they're both the same race. But it has been 3 years since then, as Mr. Bolin mentioned, I should mention too, as a consequence of that fight, he was put in segregation for 6 months. So he was punished for that. After that, he was designated as SMI, which means severely mentally ill. He would not be put in segregation for a similar incident at this point if it was somehow linked to his mental illness. Again, he has had no incidents in over 3 years now. It has been 3 years. In addition to that, as Mr. Bolin mentioned in his interview, he asked Eddie, or Mr. Pitts, what if someone does something to you? And the first thing he said, and Mr. Bolin can verify this, is, well, I would look for a correctional officer. And then what if no correctional officer is around? Yeah, I'd dodge, try and get out of the way. And then the question was, well, what if there's no one else around and can't get out of the way? And he did say he would defend himself, as I think anyone here would. There are dangerous people in the Department of Corrections. Clearly, several years ago, I know one of the board members who's no longer here said, while reviewing Mr. Pitts's tickets, he said, considering who Mr. Pitts is incarcerated with, and this includes 20 years in general population, overall his disciplinary is not too terrible given his time in custody and who his, the people he's congregating with, which are, in prison. So I think that the key points here should be, we should consider the medical care. Mr. Pitts has been in prison now, it'll be 40.5 years. If he's denied parole today, even though we have a good parole plan, it'll be 49.5. We're heading towards 50. You know how many C number cases we have left? Not a lot. He is one of the few inmates in Illinois, one of the longest serving. I don't think anyone could say Mr. Pitts is one of the worst of the worst. He's not. He is mentally ill and deserves to have some mental health treatment, which he will get on the secured floor at Central Nursing Home. And again, appealing to some sort of financial, comparison, he's costing and has cost the Illinois taxpayers a lot of money, where he could actually, it's a win for the taxpayers because now he's moved off their dime to a secured facility where he cannot leave the second floor without an attendant or an authorized visitor. This is important, and it should be considered because Mr. Pitts' cost of incarceration will continue to increase as his dementia grows more cumbersome, and along with other just issues of him being in his 70s. He's doing physical therapy right now for his knee. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I know we were here on Halloween, and I'm sorry, Mr. Bolin, that you didn't get that email. I thought it was odd you didn't respond, but I didn't want to overstep my boundary and track you down to see if you got it. But I did relay all this information a couple of weeks ago. The other thing is he can have a 90-day hold. So if you do grant him parole today, We still have to do the Maximus assessment, which you might be familiar with. The only reason we didn't do it beforehand, although they have said he can live there at Central, is because it's a lot of work for the social work at the Illinois Prison Project, and she has, limited resources and time, and we want to make sure she is able to use that to her best ability, given the clients that she also represents through her work there. So it's a limited resources. So we thought we'd wait, but they do have space for him. And actually, I think they have 240 beds, and right now they're at like 175 capacity. It's in Chicago. You could go see him there. We can put you on the visitors list if you're concerned. I know 2 Chicago board members, unfortunately, are not here today. So that makes it more difficult for Mr. Pitts because this came up earlier. Yes, indeterminate sentencing. He needs the majority of votes on the board. And we're missing 2 board members today. So that makes it more difficult for him to get this opportunity for release. And if he's denied parole today, it's another year. And I don't know if I can get this parole plan next year.
I want to commend you for representing Mr. Pitts and for finding this housing arrangement, which has been something that we've been searching for people who have these kinds of mental illness issues. So thank you for that. I just want to confirm that if he did get paroled and he went to that location, he would have a fixed parole term of 3 years or 5 years?
It's 5.
5 years. And then at the end of the 5 years, assuming he's still living, at that point, would this nursing home have to be his voluntary choice to stay there, or face a civil commitment for involuntary commission to a state psychiatric facility?
No, his nephew would have his power of attorney. He can't break, Eddie cannot, Mr. Pitts cannot break the contract. His nephew Zebedee Pitts would be his power of attorney. And this nursing home does offer hospice and end-of-life care. They told us he could reside there indefinitely.
But it would be the nephew's decision about whether he would remain there or go somewhere else.
But the nephew cannot, much like I wouldn't be able to, cannot care for Mr. Pitts's needs. So I can't speak for his nephew, but the family can't take care of him given his physical and mental health issues. So they would want him in a facility like this. And it's really a miracle that this is available to him.
Thank you very much for finding this place.
Can I clarify? Power of attorney is different than guardianship, though, correct? I mean, Mr. Pitts can still determine that he wants to leave. Power of attorney works in concert with the individual just to interpret and to support his needs.
Well, I mean, the reality is Mr. Pitts wouldn't be able to make those type of decisions for himself. So
Correct.
Guardianship, right now, power attorney, the facility said power attorney, he cannot break the contract. And I'm being serious when I'm saying he cannot get off this floor without
So what
someone.
you're saying, there's another contract in addition to the power of attorney established
With
by
the nursing home.
Central Nursing Home.
Yes, that's what they told me.
So
Yes.
if he breaks the contract, that's a revocation, he comes back to facility.
If he breaks the contract and leaves the facility, the parole agent can revoke his parole immediately.
Okay.
And they're in touch with everyone. I mean, he would be in touch with, the facility would be in touch with us, NAMI, staff from IPP, the board, if anyone
Yes.
wants to go over there.
I understand. And the nursing home understands his medical, his
Yep.
mental health needs.
We sent them the records and we talked to them about it. We said, he's diagnosed with schizophrenia, but he hasn't been getting psychiatric treatment, which I think is critical too. I know you're worried about him being a safety risk, but Lawrence is not treating him for his psychiatric illness. And my guess is because this is true for almost the majority of the time he's in general population. He keeps to himself and he tries not to engage with people. And actually he told me, I talked to him last week. He said, someone tried talking to me, so I just left. He knows the board is worried about him getting another fight. I can assure you. And he did say to me last week too, I do what the correction officers say. And I think that's true of the staff. I don't know how much he would really understand, given that in Central, like I said, is a step up from Lawrence. And we've said to him, you'll have to go to this place if you're going to parole. I don't necessarily know if he would understand that there's a contract now. That's something though the psychiatrist and the general practitioner can work with him. They can certainly answer questions you have to ensure safety of Mr. Pitts. And keep in mind too, the nursing home Because we asked them, we said, what do you do if someone in a nursing home, they start disagreeing with each other? Because it happens. If you're familiar with dementia, some people get angry with dementia and it's, they've changed their personality. It's really tragic. Nursing home has an incentive not to have any resident issues. And they did tell us Mr. Pitts will be in his own room. But if there's any sort of like disagreement, keep in mind, Eddie doesn't go out of his way to make conversation with people. They intervene immediately. They have people on staff 24 hours a day.
I have a question about this contract you're talking about. The contract is between who?
The
Who are
nursing home and his power of attorney.
Okay,
That's my understanding.
okay. So he would be placed on parole, and then the family would be agreeing that he be placed, and they're the ones who do the contract. But in fact, a power of attorney can be revoked by the person who gives it. It's not a guardianship. So if he improves and a court finds that maybe they go for commitment, and a court says, no, we're not going to commit him. So then he can walk.
No,
Now he could be revoked from parole.
Yeah, and a post type for parole has to be approved. So he's 72 right now. He's turning 73. So he'd be on parole at least 5 years. So he'll be 78 when he gets off parole at the earliest. He just said he's one of 11 and he's lost multiple siblings. I don't know if Mr. Pitts will be alive in 5 years or any of us for that matter. I don't know. I don't have that. I understand your concern. I'm not being dismissive of it, but I can assure you the family wants him in a safe place where they're treating his medical needs.
And then by being on this second floor that's locked, I take it if he's treated, he's on medication, he might be improved and moved to the first floor?
No, because he has dementia. And it's not just for those diagnosed with mental illness, it's their memory care. Second floor is also for dementia patients, which my understanding you don't get better from dementia.
All right.
It's secure because they don't want these individuals, the residents, wandering off or something. They do have a liability concern, the nursing home.
My last question, you talked a lot about the cost. And so my question is, what's the cost of him staying in this nursing home with this specialized care?
Well, it's Medicaid dollars. That's federal money.
I realize that, but it's still dollars.
Right.
So what are we talking about?
Well, the Sun-Times article I saw said that and they were talking, not necessarily, they were comparing prison to just public facilities. I think they said it was like $25,000, so roughly half the cost. I don't know the exact number.
I think that might be true for an assisted living, but I don't think that's true for someone in a facility like you've described, at least not that I have experienced. It's quite a bit more expensive than what it would be. But that's not the major issue here.
Right,
So,
I understand. And I don't know, sometimes, when a cost is listed, what's Medicaid paying versus private insurance?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
all a bit opaque to me. My understanding, it is cheaper than prison, whether it's $1 cheaper or 10,000, I don't know. But it would be Medicaid. And they did tell us at Central, he could get disability, so he would have $30 a month, which breaks down to like 15, or I did the math, $12.50 a week.
Okay.
But he cannot leave without an attendant. Similar to his current situation, except he can't leave permanently. I mean,
Before you have any other questions?
No.
Could we hear from the state attorney's office, and then we'll have Mr. Bullen make his motion?
Yes, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office does oppose the granting of parole to Mr. Pitts. It's the state's position that there is a substantial risk that he will not conform to the reasonable conditions of parole, as has been discussed in the last hour or so. A big concern of ours is that violent assault in 2022, that was extremely violent. The victim had brain damage, as you guys talked about. We also believe that granting Mr. Pitt's release would deprecate the seriousness of this offense and promote disrespect for the law. If a trier of fact finds that the murder was accompanied by exceptionally brutal or heinous behavior indicative of wanton cruelty, the sentence can be up to natural life in prison. In this case, the judge did find that this was exceptionally brutal. And brutal includes conduct which is grossly ruthless, devoid of mercy or compassion, or cruel and cold-blooded. And this crime was that. Mr. Keene was a public servant. He was just doing his job, and Mr. Pitts stabbed him 23 times. This was very violent. And given that he attacked a different person in a very violent way 3 years ago, the state is very concerned and believes that the risk is too high that Mr. Pitts would engage in further violent behavior if released. We also believe that his release would have a substantially adverse effect on institutional discipline. As I said, there is no reason to believe that he would abide by the reasonable conditions of parole, considering the mental health issues that he suffers from, along with the dementia. Aggression is a common symptom of both of those conditions, and he has shown that he is violent, even very recently. And finally, we ask, pursuant to 730 ILCS 5/334G, that the board considers all prior letters protesting parole, as well as any prior recorded statements of protest by our office in the past, and any interested parties, including Jerry Keene's family and friends, some of whom testified yesterday at the protest hearings. Thank you.
Can I say one final thing in response to the state's attorney, since they're speaking about the fence? Also, what she forgot to say is that sentencing, a factor in mitigation is subsection 16. At the time of the offense, the defendant was suffering from a serious mental illness, which, though insufficient to establish the defense of insanity, substantially affected his or her ability to understand the nature of his or her acts to conform with her conduct requirements of the law. And these two incidents, the holding offense and the incident in Dixon, were 46 years apart, 45. And we have measures in place to address the state's attorney's concerns, because now he will have a psychiatrist, which we all know was the underlying concern with his initial offense. And I don't think he should be punished further because he's getting dementia, and dementia patients can be violent. That could be true. That I take issue with. And I'll just leave it at that.
Mr. Grubbs.
You and I spent a lot of time on Eddie Pitt's case last year, and I want to echo what Mr. Heaton said, and that I think that this entire board has appreciation for what you and Ms. Sebring have done to advocate for him on a pro bono basis, so thank you. Second, obviously it's not a requirement that the board tours a host site option, correct? But knowing that I made a trip to Chicago last year to do just that, and then had another board member give a secondary analysis of last year's host site option, I guess I would have hoped that you would have given us that option this year. And Central sounds exactly like what we're looking for, but so did Balmoral until I toured it. And so that's where my reservations lie, not in your analysis of it, but in my inability to take a look at it.
Right. If I could address this is why I did send the information to the PRB operations email, which is what I'm told to communicate, unless you have individually given me your email. Again, I don't like to intrude on your space, but I'd be happy for that. That's why I sent the information. I was disappointed to see that 2 of the Chicago board members aren't here. It has to be approved as a host site. It hasn't yet. So what could happen is that Mr. Pitts is granted parole today. And if you read the statute, he can be held in the Department of Corrections for up to 90 days while the host site is being approved.
Well, are you making a motion to continue this?
No,
after we
I would
had
like
an
him to
hour
be-
of, testimony?
No, I would like what can happen is like I just said, if you look at the statute, that if the host site, which it has to be approved still by probation and parole, if Central is approved as the host site, it still has to be. So say you grant him parole today, he's not going anywhere tomorrow because the host site isn't paroled.
But the issues between what the board is concerned at
Mhm.
and the reintegration group is concerned with are 2 separate things. They're only looking at whether or not he has a host site available. The board is concerned about the security of that host site.
Well,
So they're 2 separate things.
Sure, but I would assume there's some communication back and forth, but I'd be happy for the board to look at the facility. I was surprised. I didn't know with like fire codes and whatever.
Let me make a suggestion to you. I think you're getting a clue here that if you were to ask us to postpone this decision, to give us time to go look at it ourselves, your chances of success are greater. So
That's
consider
fine.
making a motion that this case be reconsidered.
In 90 days, or how soon would you like it to? I mean, as soon as someone can come see it, I'm happy to arrange it. with the facility. And then, I mean, I guess my question is, then do we come back for the next en banc, or does or probation approve it as a host site? Balmoral was approved because IPP had other clients there, but they haven't placed someone at this facility yet. But I'd be happy, you can come look at it, check out the code for the elevator and the doors. It was something I was thinking of you, Mr. Grubbs. We were asking these questions with you in mind, because we know you're concerned and we understand it. We also are concerned about Eddie's safety. I don't want Mr. Pitts walking out the door there. I would be concerned about him. And people in his state can be victims of crime because they're more vulnerable. So that is acceptable to me.
Mr. Grubbs indicates he's going to be out for next month, so it would have to be the following month. But if you wish to proceed, we'll go ahead and proceed at this point.
No, I want to enhance Mr. Pitts's chance of getting out of prison after 40.5 years. So of continuing his en banc to a further date, once board members can look at the facility. I mean, of course, this is, the best parole plan that we've found for him. And I'm not sure there's a better option available anywhere.
For what it's worth, if this is my motion and I need to be taking a look at this facility, we're already fully scheduled out in May. I've got quite a bit of time off in June. I've got a little bit of concern with being told, hey, go drive to Chicago and do a thorough analysis of this site with.
Will you be there for clemency hearings? Because
we just went through clemency hearings.
I don't know if you're coming up in
it'll
July.
be
In July.
July. If you want to continue the motion, knowing that we would continue it till June hearing.
And if you can't check the facility out by that, we can extend it to the July en banc?
Yes.
Okay.
But we will do that.
Okay.
So you have a motion to do that?
I would suggest July myself if this is on me. I've got a lot of time off in June. That'd be a burden.
Okay.
I think
So
it's a good idea. I
Yeah.
really want to see the place, and I'm very grateful that you guys have worked so hard to find a place like this. And we want psychiatric options that are secure, and so thank you.
yeah, we were just talking about this, that we need a place that does provide that. So
Yeah.
all the board is very interested in this.
Okay.
So based upon your motion, I'll make the motion to
Mr.
continue
Bowen?
the case to look at the mental health treatment center. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Heaton. Those in favor respond by voting aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, the ayes have it. We're continuing this case to go look at the case, and then we will notify you. It'll be sometime in July. And if we can't get to it before then, we'll kick it over.
Okay, I appreciate it. It's
And
better
we
than
do
getting a
have
one-year
the state's
set.
attorney's objection already on, but if you want
Yes.
to come back in July, we'd love to have you.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. So we're coming back in July for this case? Or is it
We're
June?
going to come back for, yes,
July?
July.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
if you could send her your protest letter so she would have it for her future, that would be great.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, well, we're going to have to wait no further because we already have this continuation hearing. So I before we watch it, I just want to get a few things off my chest. I'll only be a couple of minutes. If you want to skip ahead, by all means, go ahead. One clarification, if you were wondering, the date at the top left corner there, that is not the date of the hearing. That is the date that they interviewed him for the hearing. So these hearings took place. The one we're about to watch was August 31st, 2025. And the one that we just watched was April 24th, 2025. All right. Now, where do they find these advocates? Her voice, for me at least, it was nails on a chalkboard. Like, that's an art form. I mean, it's like rolling down on the chalkboard every time she spoke. And just, I listened to her words and the words that she's saying, and she is making Mr. Eddie Pitts the victim in every way that she talks about it. You know, even the idea that he would roam outside. She's like, I don't want him to roam outside. Many people with dementia have become victims. And the whole thing to me is so insane. I mean, the way that it's worded, she's like, elections have consequences. The other DA didn't care. As you can see, the DA, I'm like, well, I wonder why that weak on crime DA got voted out. Maybe it's because they don't want violent, schizophrenic offenders being the bunkie with their mother or their grandfather. Maybe that's why. Because I think anybody with a couple of brain cells to rub together can say that this is not good. It was just a few years ago that he brutally beat a man into brain damage. And you heard from the beginning, he's still in remarkable shape. He actually commented on it. You look at he's a physically strong man.
Mr. Pitts appears to be in good physical health. I might argue above average physical fitness, particularly given his placement in the healthcare unit and his age.
And then she it's like she wants her cake to eat it too, as much as I hate that analogy. But she says things like what did she say? She says, oh, when he committed that crime of brutally beating up the man in prison, prison said that he was diagnosed that for being meant that he was punished for it already and diagnosed as being severely mentally ill. And it's like, what? Well, if he's severely mentally ill, why are you gonna he's in prison now? And then she said, well, in the examples, what would you do? Well, I'd call the police, I'd get help, or yeah, I'd defend myself. And of course he can remember this is someone who for no reason, this wasn't a robbery gone wrong, this wasn't a crime of passion, this wasn't he jumped and stabbed a man nearly 30 times because the details of it, I think he heard the devil telling him to do it or something. You really want him to be in a nursing home with access to people who cannot defend? He is coming from a different universe. You might as well put a Martian in the nursing home. He's going to be coming from a world of violence and a different mindset. Even if you didn't have violence and mental problems, I would say this would be scary. Anyways, so what's happening now is that what apparently it seems that she had recommended a location last year, and the board members said, wow, that sounded great, and give them credit. They went and did an in-person review of it and said, this place sucks. And that's what they spoke about. And then when he tells her that, and she says to her, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me about this new location? So we could have gone and looked at it. And her response is, oh, I don't want to invade on your privacy, on your privacy. I can't email you. That would be intrusive. And that is such you got to get it. Her responses are so childish. What? You don't want to invade on my privacy? What? This is our job. We need to make sure this is a proper facility. This is our job. What do you mean privacy? It's the strangest thing. I really feel like I'm listening to a child. We're about to see now in this interview, they're going to interview staff from the facility, and they're going to go through his walk. It's great. They're doing their due diligence. Also want to give a big shout out to the new ADA who really laid down the facts on this case. So anyways, with that, let's jump in.
This is a continuation of a hearing for Mr. Eddie Pitts, number L01404, who was originally interviewed at Lawrence Correctional Center on February 18th, 2025. This case was presented at the April 24th, 2025 en banc hearing, but was continued at the board's request during the hearing in order to further consider and look into a change of parole host site that had changed the week prior. Prior to the continuation, the case had been presented in its entirety, including with follow-up discussion with the petitioner's witnesses, as well as opposition presentation from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Given this fact, I will not be going through the presentation of this case again, but rather presenting only what has changed or occurred since the last hearing, as well as presenting anything which falls under one of the statutory factors for consideration that may not have been presented in April prior to that bill becoming law. Mr. Pitts' holding offense is a 1977 conviction for murder out of Cook County with a 150 to 300-year sentence. His mandatory supervised release date is February 17th, 2117, with his maximum discharge date being August 17th, 2120. Mr. Pitts was 24 years old at the time of the offense. He is currently 72, and Mr. Pitts has been in custody, IDOC custody, for 47 years. Per an updated disciplinary history ran on July 28th, the petitioner has not had any disciplinary reports since the last en banc hearing. Any updates regarding mental health records and such will be discussed in executive session later. The big change, Mr. Pitts has been accepted at Central Nursing Home in Chicago, and IDOC has approved the site for parole should he be granted. Council has informed us that Mr. Pitts will be assigned to his own room on the second floor of the facility, which is specifically designated for people with mental illness and dementia. The residents are confined to the floor and cannot go to another floor unless they are accompanied by an attendant. The elevator has a security code, all the doors have an alarm, and there are security cameras. This is what's been reported to us. The floor is fully staffed 24 hours a day. Additionally, Mr. Pitt's nephew will have power of attorney, so he will be legally unable to check himself out of the facility. He cannot go outside unless he is accompanied by a staff member or someone on his visitors list, including family attorneys and other nonprofit staff. Mr. Pitt's assigned parole agent can stop by the facility at any time. And they have been informed that Mr. Pitts can reside there indefinitely, as they have residents with advanced dementia, and they can contract with a hospice provider for in-house end-of-life care when needed. Public opposition from Cook County State's Attorney's Office was heard in April. Any confidential opposition continues to be heard in executive session here in a bit as well. And that's really all that has changed with that. I will turn it back over to you, Mr. Tupy, and we can hear from our witnesses before we go to executive session. I understand there's a time constraint on one of the witnesses, so.
Okay, with that understanding, do we have any questions for Mr. Boland at this time, or do you want to hear from the witnesses and then go to executive session? Any questions for Mr. Boland at this time? All right, seeing none, would you swear in the witnesses and we'll proceed and then go into executive session after they've talked.
Yes, hi, good morning.
I'm going to have to swear you in, okay?
Okay,
And then, and I'll go ahead and swear in everyone as well. So if you all please stand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, swear.
Ms. Juarez, you can sit down now, and if you have anything you want to say, you can go ahead and say it to the board.
Well, pretty much everything was said at the beginning of the meeting. We are really happy to welcome Mr. Eddie Pitts. As it was mentioned previous, our second floor, it's secure for him, and we do have a lot of patients, with the same diagnosis that he has. And we always have staff 24 hours, anything that he's gonna need, at once if he does get admitted to us. We have 5 CNAs on the second floor. We always have 2 nurses every shift and 5 CNAs every shift as well. The room, we don't have a room assigned for him yet. It all depends upon admission, but we always have beds available.
Okay, is that all you would like to say at this point?
So far, yes, pretty much.
Okay, any questions from anybody at this point? Mr. Grubbs.
Could you go over, I know Mr. Boland covered it partially in his supplemental presentation, but tell me about the exterior of the building, the grounds, fencing, security access, when someone is outside.
Well, usually we have a receptionist 24 hours. The doors are locked, not unless the receptionist opens the door. And pretty much, or exit doors, there are alarms. So if anybody tries to go out, the alarm is gonna go right away. We do have a patio, and the patio is secure too as well. Because we have a schedule assigned for the smokers that they go to the patio and smoke. And usually a staff is only the one can take them out to the patio for smoking time. So pretty much whoever tries to leave the building, it has to be with a staff or with, like I said, or with activities when they're trying to go out and smoke. And the receptionist would always have to sign anybody in and out from the facility as well.
Good morning. You indicate, Robin Schaffner, you indicated that he's going to be on the second floor of the facility. Is that correct? Can you hear me?
Oh, are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, he's going to be assigned on the second floor, but that's pretty much, our second floor is more for dementia patients.
All right. I just wanted to know about the second floor, about how many patients do you have on that floor? How many are male versus female? And what's the proximity of rooms from other patients?
Our census right now on the second floor, we have about 48 patients. And my estimated between females and males, I want to say it's more, it's in between. I want to say right now we have more females than males on second floor.
And are those rooms secure? Can someone go into another patient's room?
The rooms are not secure. It's just the floor itself is secure by the elevator when they need a code.
Thank you.
Ms. Tyson?
Where is the cafeteria located?
The dining room is located on the same floor on second floor towards the end of the hallway.
So does each floor have the cafeteria?
Yes.
Thank
Mhm.
Ms. Torres?
Good morning, Ms. Juarez. How are you? I don't know if you could see
Good
me.
morning. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just for clarity, now you, as a licensed facility, what is your ratio of staff to individuals or ratio to staff to collective number of folks on your floor?
Depending on the census, like on second floor, like I said earlier, we have 5 CNAs every shift.
5?
Yes, 5 CNAs. So each CNA might have between 9 to 11 the most
Okay.
patients.
Okay. And clarify for me, you indicated that the security system responds to someone attempting to leave the floor. So when that alarm goes off or they're attempting to leave, let me ask you that first, they can't open the door, correct? Or they can, the door does open and then someone responds to the exit of the patient, or does the alarm go off and maintain the patient on the floor?
The door will open, but it will take a few minutes. The alarm will go off first, then it takes like few couple minutes, and then it lets them out. So by that time, it gives us a little bit of time to respond to the alarm.
Okay, so the follow-up response to the patient or the resident rather leaving the floor, how many security respond to the exit?
Pretty much all the staff are trained. Once they hear the alarm, they need to run to it.
So when you say staff, that would be your CNNs, your nurse, your
Nurses.
security?
Correct. Everybody who is on the second floor.
So everyone at second floor, okay.
Correct.
And typically, can you share with me, maybe for the last 60 days, how many incidents would you say occurred regarding this type of scenario, a resident leaving the floor without permission?
We haven't had any incidents on second floor through the stairwell. I want to say just once. On second floor, it was a female, but that was through the elevator, and that's because of visitor. let the resident. But once, we noticed that, because usually the receptionist and the staff would always make sure who comes down to as well from the elevator. And then we right deck them to go back upstairs.
Okay. One of the points that was made by Mr. Boland was that there is a power of attorney, and I believe it's a relative that may have that power of attorney or a support system. How does your institution work with the power of attorney? If Mr. Pitts decides he no longer would like to be a resident of your location, and can he leave independently, or you hold him until the power of attorney responds to you?
We would always hold them until the power of attorney responds.
So if the power of attorney says he has to remain there, he has to stay, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so the number two, if Mr. Pitts says, I do not want to honor my power of attorney, I don't want him to be my power of attorney, verbally, he can terminate that relationship, correct?
Depending on his diagnosis, if his dementia is really severe and it's something that he's not able to make any decisions, then no, social service will have to evaluate and go through another direction.
Okay, so that's good. So just to clarify that, so if at the moment, your institution indicates that there are acute symptoms occurring, then you would get him assessed to make sure he's making an informed decision. Is that what I hear you
Correct.
saying? Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Ms. Gluboker?
I know at this point, this was a couple years ago, but when I spoke with Mr. Pitts, he had expressed a desire to work and be productive. And can the attorney speak at all to the conversations you've had with him about essentially going from one institution to another, or if he's been able to voice any thoughts on that?
So he'd be able to participate in recreational art programs. Ms. Juarez went over some of the activities at the facility. So,
and he knows exactly where he's going. I mean, we have had long conversations with him exactly where he will be placed and what that will look like. It's not like, oh, he will be surprised.
yeah.
He's currently in the medical wing of the prison as well. So he knows.
How long are we going
Do we have any further questions?
I've got a couple other questions. I know that there was mention of CNAs and nurses, briefly a little bit about security offers. What kind of security staff does the facility actually keep on hand?
Well, technically, like I said, we do have a receptionist 24 hours. On the weekends, we have an agency in the night only that it's, as a security staff and outside security. Other than that, that's pretty much the only support that we have. Any other type of support than we usually call 911.
Okay, so you don't have regular in the building security staff?
Correct, no, we don't.
Okay. What measures do you have in place should a resident have a violent incident?
We usually, like I said, depending on the situation, we usually send them out right away to the hospital for any psych evaluation.
Okay, I guess I mean more so, what is your response in the moment should a resident have that kind of incident?
Well, it all depends. If it's, two residents having an argument, we always try to separate them, put them in a different floor until we get, we send them out to the hospital.
Okay.
I have a question. I have a follow-up. I'm sorry, guys. Ms. Juarez, it's Carmen Terrones again. I want to follow up on, did you have an opportunity or do you have a team that reviews this packet of information? And I know you're representing that you have accepted him, and you indicated also that you have served individuals like him. You're aware of the details of Mr. Pitts, correct? His history, his diagnosis, and his response? Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
And
correct. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, his referral was reviewed by our admissions centralized team and also gets reviewed by our administrator and our DON as well.
Okay, so the follow-up question to that is, have you had individuals similar to Mr. Pitts in your institution?
I haven't been with this company that long, but I want to say yes, we have.
All right, that's all. Thank you, Ms. Juarez.
You are.
Mr. Grubbs.
How long have you been with the company?
I've been with the company 7 years.
7 years, okay.
Yes.
And in the last 12 months, how many walkaway incidents have occurred of a resident? How many have left the facility without an escort that just tried to walk away?
I want to say we had a couple residents, they come, we have a lot of residents that are homeless and, they're used to being homeless. So they do come from the hospital and they end up leaving AMA. So within the past month, I want to say we have 2 AMAs.
And how long were they gone before?
They
you
were
found
just
them?
here for one night and they left the next day.
I'm talking about permanent residents that are assigned to the nursing home that are on the 2nd floor. How many of those in the last 12 months have tried to leave and successfully left without escort?
None on the 2nd floor. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Any further questions? The witness. Okay. Seeing none at this point, we'll turn it over to the attorneys to make their presentation and finish their presentation, and we'll go from there.
Can you let Ms. Juarez know she's free to go back to work?
Any further questions
you.
for her?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Juarez.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, right. I guess, you heard what Ms. Juarez said. We've toured the facility. He's on the 2nd floor. As Mr. Grubbs just asked, no one's left.
We need
the
to get
second-
your mic
Oh,
working.
sorry. No one, sorry. Now I'll be loud. As Mr. Grubbs just asked and was explained by Ms. Juarez, Mr. Pitts will be on the 2nd floor as a dementia patient. They're aware of his psychiatric history. He will be evaluated upon his arrival by a psychiatrist and also a general practitioner to understand what his medical needs are. That is not being done currently at Lawrence. And because he is a resident of the 2nd floor, he's not able to leave, as she explained. Yeah, if you touch the door, the alarm will go off, but they're well aware of the residents on that floor need specialized care, and that's what they can provide for him. So, and he doesn't smoke, so you wouldn't actually know to go to the courtyard or ask to go there. And all his needs can be attended to on the 2nd floor. And it's not prison, but it's sort of prison light. And the benefit is he finally, which we know from the new statute that went into effect on June 20th, will get his medical needs, which should be considered today under the new parole statute, should be taken in consideration. The care and ability to care for Mr. Pitts in Lawrence versus the end-of-life care that he can be provided at Central Nursing Home.
Do you have any other statement that you would like to make?
I think I just want to add that we are also prepared to start as soon as he's out. So we have set up this power of attorney. That's really just that's very quick, right? We will also do the guardianship proceedings, which they also prefer at Central actually, but we cannot do that while he's at Lawrence, but we can do that once he's out. That has to be in the county where he resides. And so we are getting that part going too. That is actually, at that point, even if he started saying he wants to leave, he could not leave anymore. And he hasn't, just to be sure, he's never said he wants to leave. He would like to reside at Central. That's the plan.
And I don't know that he would know he could leave, to be honest with you. He's been institutionalized for all intents and purposes. And I would just direct your attention then to subsections 13, 14, and 15. Evidence petitioner has a serious medical condition. I think we're all in agreement. Evidence Department of Correction unable to meet petitioner's medical needs. And then 15 is his reentry plan, which was testified to here today. So on balance, we would ask that you grant him parole. It has been approved by DOC as a host site. So they've been over and looked at it. And all the other measures we've talked about, so.
I have a question.
All right. Any questions from board members for the
Yes.
attorneys?
Go ahead, Mr. Grubbs. No? I want to clarify the guardianship that you shared, counsel. So who is going to pursue this guardianship, and are you familiar with pursuing guardianship? And what's the time frame associated with that application? And
So the way that goes, right? So either we or Mr. Zebedee Pitts would be the petitioner. We would say we would like to get this started. Then the facility itself is actually set up to provide, he needs to be evaluated by a psychiatrist, right? Given his medical diagnosis, I've spoken to a few people, there's no doubt that a doctor would say he qualifies for guardianship. Then the court would require somebody to step up and say who will be the guardian. Zebedee Pitts again has said, I will step up and be the guardian. The state actually prefers that a family member be the guardian. And then there's a court proceeding where he can actually waive his appearance. And then Zebedee would be appointed the guardian, and then that would be it.
okay, so that's a commitment you're making at his legal representation that you're going to follow through on guardianship for Mr. Pitts.
If you guys make the part of his parole plan, yes, absolutely. I mean, we've always said that.
Well, in your observation and evaluation, do you think that's a prudent thing to pursue?
Of course, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Ms. Tyson.
Ms. Taronis addressed my questions. Thank you. They've been addressed.
Mr. Grubbs.
How long has Mr. Pitts been a permanent resident of the infirmary for this particular set of time?
Since he's been at Lawrence, which is 2 years ago, but he was also in the medical at Dixon. So,
Well, I know he was in and out.
but he's been in 2 years. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
excuse me. You're right.
To clarify.
Yes, last September, I think is when he officially became a permanent resident at the Lawrence Infirmary. Sorry about that. Yes. And he's there now. We talked to him.
Thank you.
And he does get stellar reviews from all the nursing staff. I just want to say we made those notes available. He is very compliant. All the nurses love him. They say that he's very friendly, and so he does very well in a medical kind of setting.
I just want to say one more. You referenced earlier, and I just want to clarify or make a statement, or you can respond. You indicated that Mr. Pitts has not expressed the desire to leave. He wants to leave the institution to go somewhere else, but he hasn't expressed to you, I'm going to leave, the place I want to go to. And I do understand that, but I also believe that his mental health diagnosis and the symptoms that may come from that, he may not be able to make an informed decision. So that's the questioning. How do we respond to someone who symptoms are acute that they're not making rational decisions? So I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, and Ms. Juarez, I think, addressed that a bit, if he's not capable. I think everyone is on the same page here, including Eddie's family. There's nowhere else for him to go, to be frank with you. So,
Mental health diagnosis
Yes.
is not about where you're going, it's about going.
yeah, and we're grateful that they have a psychiatrist who is, comes to the facility on a regular basis, which
Once a week, actually.
yeah, so, and that is something he hasn't had. The DOC is not able to provide that care for him, as you know.
Mr. Grubbs.
And just to confirm, his nephew Zebedee would be the one that would transport him from Lawrence Correctional.
No, that actually will be Department of Corrections.
They're going to
Yes,
provide
we
transportation.
have talked to them. Yep. So
Okay,
he will
so you
not-
have that confirmed?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Any further questions from the board members at this time of the petitioner's attorney? Okay. Seeing none, we can hear from Cook County at this time.
Good morning. I apologize. Is this working? There we go. Okay. Good morning. My name is Courtney Quam, and I am an assistant state's attorney in Cook County. And the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, again, does strongly object to parole in this case. While the Cook County State's Attorney's Office is sympathetic to Mr. Pitts, his age and his condition, based on what has been heard today about the facility, it is not adequate, and it's presenting a danger to the other residents of this facility. Escaping isn't really the issue. It's harm to another patient that's in this facility, especially given the ratio of staff to patients and how quickly they could respond in the event of violence, which is extremely possible given that he attacked, while in DOC, attacked another inmate in 2022 and sent that person to the hospital. And that was in 2022. That was fairly recently. And the facts of the crime that he committed, while a long time ago, were exceptionally brutal. And so for those reasons, oh, and the fact that there's not a formal security on staff. I'm not aware that the CNAs are trained to deal with someone who becomes extremely violent with this kind of background. So based on those reasons, we do not feel that the Central Nursing Home is an adequate facility for Mr. Pitts, and we object to parole at this time. Thank you.
May I make a brief response, please? The current statute that went into effect June 20th doesn't talk about the seriousness of the offense. Ms. Juarez just talked about the security measures. Mr. Pitts, as you know from this, a pattern of fewer institutional disciplinary infractions within the previous 2 years. He has had none. So under the new statute, I don't think the state's attorney's objection should carry the day, given what we know about his parole plan. And this facility, second floor, this is the patients they deal with every day. If they weren't comfortable with Mr. Pitts, and they are well aware of where he's coming from, they wouldn't have accepted him. They don't have to. And they've chosen to do so and provide him the medical care in the secured facility that he is entitled to after 47 years. So we would ask that you grant him parole under the current statute as written.
If I could interject.
Questions by the board members or either side?
I do just want to clarify that the Illinois State Constitution, to which we've all taken an oath, does outline that all punishments in the state shall be determined by both the seriousness of the offense and the restoration to useful citizenship. So while the current law does mandate a number of mitigating factors to consider, I just want to remind everybody of our constitutional obligations as well, but it's certainly not outside of the bounds of what we are bound to in considering parole determinations.
Ms. Toronis.
So you made a statement about our concern regarding him leaving the facility. The additional concern is, yes, he has a mental health diagnosis, that he can make an informed decision sometimes, right? And the symptoms. My concern is that there may not be a strength, a physical strength, ability to address his needs when he's under acute symptoms. So it is also about making sure that the community that is serving him, rightly so, based on what you're saying, he has medical conditions, he has needs, that the community of practice where he's going to be going to are also understanding of his possibilities, right? The probability And I know that the probability is low based on what we're hearing right now, so I hear you. But that's probably the concern as well. Are the staff equipped to address when he's symptomatic, right? So we have to cover all bases. So that's also something that I want to put on the table, the response of folks based on that 22 incident, right? Because he was already in a correctional facility and the result end was something very terrible.
So we did talk to staff about this, right? We came to them with the board's question. And what we have persistently heard from medical staff is that, fights are common and we deal with them. And like you heard from Ms. Juarez, she said, we call and then we have them hospitalized, right? If Eddie had been released after, I don't know, 30 years, which other people might have, like he would have re-entered the community, and that is how our society treats people with mental illness, right? That's how we respond. So he's not that different from other people with mental illness. And again, he is currently in a medical setting, not where the last incident occurred, right? Which was with another inmate where there was no supervision at that moment. There was nobody there. We have no witnesses. Here, he's currently, for the last 2 years, he's been in a medical facility. And in that medical facility, there has been not even a shadow of any violent behavior, which is how he behaves when he's surrounded by care. And he will be surrounded by care.
Any further questions at this point from board members? All right. Is there a motion to go in executive session at this time?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Boone? Seconded by Ms. Tyson. Those in favor of the motion under subsection 18 of the Open Meetings Act, deliberations of the Prisoner Review Board. Motion's been made to go in executive session. Those in favor respond by voting aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. We're going to go in executive session for a few minutes and then we will come back.
You want us to tell her? Does she need to?
She's not back.
Thank you. Mr. Boland, at this point, does any of the board members have any questions or any further discussion of this case with Mr. Boland or any of the witnesses? Seeing none, Mr. Boland, do you have a motion at this time?
Yes, thank you. All right. After considering all statutory factors that are before the board today, my motion this morning will be to deny parole.
Is there a second at this point?
I'll second.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded to deny parole. Please call the roll.
Mr. Boland,
Yes.
Mr. Coates,
Yes.
Ms. Glaboker,
Yes.
Mr. Grubbs,
No.
Ms. Schaffner,
Yes.
Ms. Torones, Ms. Tyson,
Yes.
Mr. Tupy.
Excuse me. By a vote of 7-2, the motion to deny parole passes. Is there any further motion at this point? What? 6-2. You're right, 6-2. Can't even count.
Who else is surprised that Illinois denied the parole? I have a certain perception of them, but I think common sense prevailed. What we have to do in this situation, in my opinion, is put everything else aside. Like, even if you let me, like, I try to put myself in the advocate's shoe and get over the nails on the chalkboard and the whole thing. And I can't get there. For one, I cannot honestly say that if Grandpa Do, my grandfather, somehow ended up in a nursing home because he refuses to go. He's going on 96. He drives an electric car because he needs all the most advanced thing. I mean, his home, you walk in, it looks like a millennial lives there, and he. But Mesh, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Think he is institutionalized. He has been locked up for 47 years. It's like they do not realize that for 47 years he has been walking around looking over his shoulder. He is ready to throw down, ready to protect himself. He sees an item and he says, "Ooh, can I make that a shank?" Now he's going to be in a nursing home, but they're going to be saying, "Here's your knife and your fork and your..." He's going to be hoarding knives. I bet you they'll find shanks under his bed and mattress. You think you can just get over that? It's a lifetime. They're like gaslighting us. Oh, well, there's a courtyard down below. Oh, he doesn't smoke. Oh, he won't want to go down there. It's like, what? He's going to look out a window for the first time in 47 years, and there won't be bars on it. And he's going to see a courtyard down below, a courtyard that he can walk in, and you don't think he's going to want to spend time in it? You think we're stupid? They think we're stupid. For the first time in 47 years, he's not going to have to put handcuffs on when he walks to the cafeteria. Or what, I don't know what type of security he has, but at least when he walks to the courtyard, he's not going to have a lock on his door. He's going to have all these things that we can't even wrap our mind around that he hasn't had. And it's like you're going to plop him there and you're going to say, let's just pretend that you didn't spend the last 47 and a half years in prison. Let's pretend that you didn't beat a man to the point that he has brain damage 2 years ago. And it's present day Mandoo back. And yes, it's nice to see that common sense prevailed, but he's back again. He's back just a few months ago, 2026, for his next bite at the apple. And really, one has to wonder, what possibly could have changed? Did they find a new facility for him? Is that why they're coming back? Now, before we go and watch this parole hearing, and of course, you can jump ahead with timestamps if you don't want to go through my favorite thing, which is reading your comments. I'm going to read your comments from the last 2 parole hearings, which we just saw, and then we are going to go and jump into the next parole hearing. Please take a moment to thank Sir Richard for connecting the dots and making it possible for us to follow these hearings as it goes through the system. I'm going to update it to include my responses and replies. I just got myself a mosquito, and I am so happy because this mosquito has been flying around biting me. There is nothing that can bring more joy, I think, in life than, I guess, denying a Chomo parole hearing or killing a mosquito. And I'm going to do top comments, although YouTube's feature does not work with top comments, but what, we'll do it anyways. P.S. If you think it'd be a better title, please drop in the comment section. P.S. You're welcome, Griggs. No one even talks 4 replies. I get 4 replies, guys. What is that? You guys don't even like me. Okay. Justice or mercy for the right price. Even a killer gets a bed nursing home in the housing man. Okay. See what I said by top? Well, these aren't top. Like, how is one like a top comment? It drives me nuts. YouTube is so broken. How broken is YouTube, by the way? No, really, like, how much do you hate YouTube? Not just, it's just like the most simple things that you would think that they can do right, like recommending you a video that is interesting to you instead of recommending you the same video that you've seen already and it's 8 years old, and they show it to you over and over and over again, like as if you're dumb, as if like oh, I didn't know that I watched this 8 years ago. Keep showing it to me, YouTube, on my home screen. Keep showing it as recommended. I find it pretty insane that we pay nearly $50,000 a year for each inmate to live each year. Yet, law-abiding citizens working day after day in a state of the highest paying minimum wage is expected to live off these less than 34,000, let alone the states with the lowest 13,000. You know, yeah, I mean, it's totally insane. You act like 50,000 comes directly out of your paycheck for this dude. He can come live with you. Then you see how you like it. Oh, come on, Tyrone. Don't be cute, Tyrone. Tyrone's a longtime OG regular here at the Mandoo channel. But I hear what you're saying. But that's not the point. You know, the point is that it's crazy where money is being tax dollars are being spent. I think that's the bottom line point. Elix, OG Elix, the residents of the second floor don't have locks on their doors. There are 9 patients per CNA. You could have unalived someone in their own room before staff would know what happened. They have no real security. She kept talking about the receptionist and talking talking them and taking them to the hospital. That's not a secure facility for someone like that, man. And Elix knows she has experience. Oh, so everyone goes to the alarm. Who is watching the other patients? Mandoo is spreading so much awareness on these. Great job. Well, thank you, Cartman. I love Cartman. Definitely not the best interest of other residents, not enough staff. After murdering someone, no one is entitled to anything. That pisses me off. Saying he had anything entitled to him. I feel like a money grab for the facility. It is definitely a money grab, although a huge risk. I don't see how it could be worth it for them. And I'll look up to see, you know, whatever. I'm getting ahead of myself. I know that this is in Connecticut, but I've worked in nursing homes in Connecticut that do accommodate people like Mr. Pitts. They have geriatric psych units and infectious disease units that care for prisoners who become too sick for standard nursing homes. Let me tell you, dementia can make people aggressive and angry. It's not just about sweet little old men and women who need redirection with their daily activities. I've had psych dementia patients who, depending on the day, could and would beat the living daylights out of other residents, though they usually they saved it for the staff. At the end of the day, facilities want to be paid, so they accept a lot of patients other facilities can't control. But then there are people like Mr. Pitts. His cognitive decline might not yet qualify him for admission into dementia unit or a psych unit at a skilled nursing facility. And yes, there is a difference. For now, Mr. Pitts needs to stay exactly where he is. Maybe if he became catatonic or wheelchair bound, he could be moved. But trust me, sometimes even that doesn't stop violence. How did he put the lines through it? That's kind of cool. The facility I worked in was locked, and yes, many of them have their own room. Just imagine some old dementia patient who has behaviors that they cannot control, pacing, incessant touching, or stealing things, and Mr. Pitts decides he doesn't like it. He can do damage. Yes, he would be locked up in a secure unit, but what about everyone else who's locked up behind those doors with him? And this is coming from an expert, right? These are the kind of PhDs that we do listen to. Let's be real. This is the truth right here by Nurse Ratchet. This is the absolute truth. And it's these latte sipping, virtue signaling nut jobs that don't understand that. They do not understand it, or they don't care, or they think like, let's give compassion and empathy to Mr. Pitts. What will stop Mr. Pitts from murdering someone while there? And he won't even care. He's going to go back to somewhere where he's more familiar with, where he knows everybody. He might not even remember he did it. I'll tell you, can you imagine my grandpa, 97 years old, the day he has to go to a home, and I find out there's a Mr. Pitts on the same floor as him? Are you kidding me? I know the parole board members wouldn't do it if their family members were there. There's no question about it. Let's see if there are any more from experience. I'm looking for those who worked in these facilities that can give experience. The rep for the facility was dancing as fast as she could. The facility has no time on-site security in the event that a patient having a violent or manic episode. A question that should have been asked was to the families of the people who are residents there consent to having inmate transfers, especially to those who have history of violence. The families of residents should have a say of their loved ones around the house. With given the substantial lack of actual security, there is nothing stopping them from entering another residence in a predominantly female population. Crazy. Yep. Well said, mic drop. OG Phyllis, what's up, OG? They made the right decision. I have no sympathy for this man. Well, again, they're coming back. Let's see. I'm a CNA. Here we go. I'm a CNA. I would quit my job if I had to tend to him. Sundown syndrome makes most violent, and we can't fight back. I know a nurse hit by a shaving cream can by someone with dementia, which cause brain trauma. Dementia patients truly just become more of what they are without filter. Yes, an 80-year-old man can still hurt people. Thank you for writing. Let's see. You're welcome. I'm looking for like this comment section probably has a lot more. I'm on hour, and I've heard no one speak on the well-being of nurse CNA lives being out in jeopardy. He could think that they are looking at him wrong, and he gets mad and case them. What about other patients who do not deserve this? 2022 is only a few years ago, not 20 years ago. He can open the door and get to anyone is in his way. Why don't prisons have elderly facilities? It would literally be billions more dollars in their goal. So this is a good question, but my understanding is that it actually costs them more money. There are some prisons that are like somewhat privatized, and there are others that are, but it's very expensive to have an elderly population. I mean, in this case, the tax dollar is paying for it anyways, but still you have, I think, and I could be wrong, but like we've seen this with Louisiana, they passed entire new legislation called Act 122, which the entire purpose was to get the elderly, costly inmates out of the prison. Now Louisiana is an interesting system where the prisons are partially privatized. Some of them are, some of them aren't, but it comes off of different parts of their books. And I think that's the bottom line. Even if all the Louisiana prisons that they're doing this for was getting paid by the government does not like to be known as the incarceration state of the country, right, or the world, and to have all of their budget coming out of prison. So they passed a new legislation that sends them out of prison to parole project, right, or 72 plus, that those are the ones that take care of the inmates. It's still coming out of the taxpayer dollar, but the governor can say, you see, we brought our costs down of prisons and decreased our prison population. See how good I am. You get it? It's just a manipulation. It's just shuffling around the dollars. It's just gaslighting. Financial statements for the taxpayer. Wait, if they have a shrink off staff. Okay, guys, I love reading your comments. What's up, Christina? But I don't. Hello, Oliver. Also, OG. I haven't finished just yet, but I couldn't wait to comment. I understand that his attorney is just doing their job, but come on, she made a lot of statements that were really reaching in terms of his current condition, and that here he needs what he's receiving. She makes it seem as if there are no psychiatrists in DOC, the facility nowhere near full. They'll accept anyone to get the money. Those nursing facilities are chronically understaffed too. Yeah, he's locked on the second floor, but so are other residents. He could nearly beat another resident to being unalive before the staff could intervene, and even they couldn't even intervene. Oh wait, he's already done that in prison. Leave him where he is too much of a danger. Thank you, OG Oliver. Let me see if I can. I don't know. Nerds. All right, let's go into the next hearing, guys. I really did want to go and get some more of you experts in here who have done this, because I know that you're there. But if all the problem is that this stupid filter just doesn't really work. Let's see. Let's try this. All right.
Okay, is everybody ready?
So let's go.
Please call the next case.
Let's go jump in, y'all, and let me know what you think. Do you think they're going to grant? Let's find out.
The next case of Eddie Pitts, presented by Mr. Coates.
All right, thank you. This case was assigned to me on February 24th, 2026. I interviewed Mr. Eddie Pitts in person at Lawrence Correctional Center. Mr. Pitts was present with his attorneys, Carolyn Clarquist and Miriam Seerig. His interview began at 9:34 a.m. and ended at 10:55 a.m. Mr. Pitts was put together with a blue button-up shirt and prepared for his interview. His demeanor and attitude was calm and positive. He was able to communicate clearly for what he was able to recall. He struggled at times throughout his interview, recalling some events from the past and during his answering of a few questions. During the answering of a few of my questions. His memory and testimony would skip midway through to a different topic. Overall, I felt Mr. Pitts answered every question I presented to the best of his cognitive ability, which made for a pleasant interview. Before I share details on Mr. Pitts' mental and physical health, I did speak previously with his attorney and received their permission to share details on Mr. Pitts' mental and physical health in open session. At the start of our interview, I asked Mr. Pitts how he was doing mentally and physically. Mr. Pitts shared physically he struggles with double vision in his eyes, and that as he gets older, his knee has more challenges, which causes him to walk slowly. When I entered Lawrence Correctional Center, I entered with his attorneys from the check-in desk, and we greeted Mr. Pitts in the common visitor area. When we then walked together to a private room, which I visually guessed was about 60 feet away. During that transition, I was able to walk with Mr. Pitts and observe his ability to ambulate himself. He did walk slowly, as if he was walking carefully and cautiously to protect his knee. Furthermore, while slowly, he was able to ambulate around on his own power. Mr. Pitts shared he physically feels good for the most part and enjoys exercising. He mentioned he does push-ups and does seated leg raises to strengthen his abdominal muscles. He shared he used to also run in place for exercise, but given his knee, he is unable to do that as much due to the pain. Mr. Pitts stated his exercise keeps him alive. He did feel and express that his physical abilities are slowly drifting away with age. Regarding his mental health, Mr. Pitts shared he maintains a positive attitude for the most part and struggles with short-term memory due to his dementia. He takes his dementia medication regularly, but often feels it doesn't work due to him still experiencing memory issues. He shared he felt his dementia is slowly taking his mind and intelligence. When he feels stressed about it, he turns to his exercise routine to cope, which helps him greatly. During his trial in 1978, Mr. Pitts was evaluated by the Forensic Psychiatry Program from the Department of Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities and was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and was initially found unfit to stand trial. Following 2 additional mental health evaluations, he was eventually considered fit for trial, so long as he took his medication regularly. He presented at that time a history of reoccurring disturbing auditory hallucinations. Through much of his incarceration, his attorneys shared his condition went untreated, but he was stable. In 2023, he was designated as severely mentally ill in Illinois Department of Corrections mental health classification system. The evaluating doctor, Dr. Susan Jar, found neither suicidal nor homicidal ideations. Mr. Pitts was also diagnosed with dementia in 2022. After considering all of the documentation in his file, it's fair to say that there's a strong probability that Mr. Pitts was experiencing a mental health episode of auditory hallucinations during the commission of his murder offense. Moving beyond that, Mr. Pitts is currently 73 years old and has been incarcerated for over 49 years. Mr. Pitts has been at Lawrence Correctional Center since June of 2023. He is classified as a maximum security individual with no escapes concerns. Mr. Pitts is currently on A grade and currently resides in the infirmary unit at Lawrence Correctional Center. On April 21st, 1980, following a jury trial, Mr. Pitts was convicted of the murder of Jerry Keene and sentenced to 150 to 300 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections. Mr. Pitts has an MSR date of February 17th of 2117. During his interview and after, we discuss his mental and physical health. I asked Mr. Pitts to share a little bit about where he was from and how he grew up. He shared he was from Mississippi and his family owned a farm. They raised their own food and Mr. Pitts was one of 10 siblings. They would spend their days working in the cotton fields, making 50 to 75 cents per day. It was hard work, but they also had fun and enjoyed hunting and fishing. He also mentioned that his education went as far as 7th grade. Driven by a desire to leave the South and the cotton fields, Mr. Pitts, his brother Jesse, and one of their nephews, Gene Pitts, decided to try their luck by joining the Job Corps. A few years later, Mr. Pitts obtained permission from his father to follow his brother and his nephew. Mr. Pitts had experience operating the family's farm equipment and received further training as a heavy equipment operator while in the Job Corps. He lived in Florida and Kentucky and eventually settled in Chicago, where 2 of his sisters were living. He joined local Union 150 and began working construction jobs with the Urban League. Moving on to the statement of facts. On November 30th, 1976, at 3:45 p.m. at 6620 South Harvard, the victim, Jerry Keene, a serviceman for People's Gas Company, was making a service call at that location. While in the basement inspecting the furnace, Mr. Pitts, at the age of 24, snuck up behind the victim and stabbed him 23 times, causing the death of Mr. Keene. Mr. Pitts then fled, later disposing of the knife. Another gas company employee, Winston McGain, witnessed the killing and was told by Mr. Keene during the attack to run and get help. Mr. McGain then provided police with a description of Mr. Pitts, which led to his arrest a short time later. Moving on to statements as to the offense, Mr. Pitts took full accountability for the offense and acknowledged that he deserved to be punished, and expressed deep remorse for harming and killing Mr. Keene, as he shared his account of the offense. Mr. Pitts recalled hearing voices in his head telling him that he needed to fight for his life. This is when he then grabbed his pocket knife as one of the voices as the voices continue saying, "Kill him or he's going to kill you." He also recalled being called a coward by the voices in his head. He referenced these same auditory hallucinations during his evaluation with the forensic psychiatry program. Furthermore, Mr. Pitts shared he feels mad and sad about the situation. He stated he feels he embarrassed himself and ashamed himself. Lastly, he stated he feels sorry for killing Mr. Keene. Moving on to his criminal history. While reviewing Mr. Pitts' file, I did not find any documentation or evidence to suggest that he had a criminal history prior to committing his holding offense. And now moving to institutional adjustment. During the course of Mr. Pitts' incarceration, he has worked as a groundskeeper, a painter, and a dishwasher. His life revolves around the things he cares about, which is nature, art, exercise, and trying to understand the law. When allowed, he enjoys being outside. Regarding his disciplinary ticket history, since 1998, Mr. Pitts has received 23 tickets, 8 of them being considered major and 15 are considered minor. His tickets range from contraband, damage or misuse of property, unauthorized movement, abuse of privileges, and insolence. Since 1998, he's had 1 ticket of violence, which was his most recent ticket in May of 2022 for a violent assault of another inmate, which led to that inmate needing brain surgery. Mr. Pitts' petition shared that his assault occurred after another inmate insulted him with a racial slur and ultimately throwing a wheelchair at him. As Mr. Pitts was not designated in the system as severely mentally ill at this time, I do not believe a review was done to determine whether this incident involved Mr. Pitts having a mental health episode. He was given 6 months of segregation, and after his 2023 severely mental health designation, any future disciplinary incident would be reviewed to determine whether the conduct at issue is related to his mental health. Mr. Pitts shared with me he lives with a cellmate in the medical unit, and his cellmate is unable to walk. He shared he does just fine having a cellmate, but if given the choice, he would rather be alone and have a cell just to himself. Throughout his 49 years of incarceration, Mr. Pitts has remained in continuous contact with his family. After Mr. Pitts was transferred to Dixon in 2011, his brother Jesse and his wife would visit him every month. Since his transfer to Lawrence Correctional Center in 2023, he has received visits from his sister Clara Pitts, his nephew Zebedee Pitts, and his niece Willie Mae Wade. While many of his family members have passed away, his remaining family includes Jean Pitts, Lude Mae Pitts, Willie B. Pitts, Richard Pitts, Clara Pitts, Sarah June Ligon. Should Mr. Pitts be released, they have shared they will offer their full support for him. Moving on to his parole plan, Mr. Pitts has been offered admission as a permanent resident at Central Nursing Home. This is a skilled nursing facility located at 2450 North Central Avenue in Chicago. Central Nursing Home offers comprehensive mental health programming for those suffering from chronic mental health issues. Its staff works closely with mental health professionals to ensure that residents have treatment plans that best aid in gaining and maintaining stable mental health. For admission, Mr. Pitts would be evaluated by the Maximus Clinical Services in partnership with the Department of Healthcare and Family Services. This evaluation would serve to ensure that his mental and physical health needs to be met. his mental and physical health needs will be met at Central Nursing Home, which has an on-site psychiatrist. Central Nursing Home would develop an individual care plan for Mr. Pitts as they offer nursing, behavioral, and social services. This facility provides residents with activities, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. The staff at Central is aware of Mr. Pitts' medical diagnosis, and a team of experienced clinicians would be available to work with him. Furthermore, per the Identified Offenders Program, which is designed to prevent abuse and promote the safety of residents, staff, and visitors from the risk of harm posed by residents with criminal backgrounds, Illinois' long-term care facilities are required to conduct a background screening on all new admissions and notify the offenses. For individuals such as Mr. Pitts, within 24 hours of arriving at Central Nursing Home, the Illinois State Police would conduct a criminal investigation while a forensic psychologist conducts a risk assessment. A final report would then be issued to the long-term care facility with the resident's risk profile to help provide guidance in developing a care plan for the offender. Mr. Pitts would also have reentry support from his family, the Illinois Prison Project, and NAMI Chicago. Opposition to parole release. Cook County State's Attorney does object to parole release, and as they are present here today, I will have them testify on their statement of opposition at the appropriate time. There was also significant opposition from the victim's family, and that testimony was shared in closed session. Moving on to en banc history. Mr. Pitts first became eligible for parole consideration in 1987. With the inclusion of today, Mr. Pitts has been presented for parole 26 times. Mr. Pitts received 3-year sets on 7 different occasions, with those years being 1988, 1999, 2002, 2005, 2009, 2013, and 2016. And with that, that is the conclusion of my presentation, and I will take any questions any board members have. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll now go ahead and swear in our witnesses.
I'll go ahead and swear you in too. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and swear you in as well.
It's okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you will give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. We'll begin with behalf, and please state your name and your relationship.
Yes,
to Mr. Pitts.
we know how to clear a room, obviously, but we thank you for your attention to Mr. Pitts' case. And you always give it close attention, which we and his family and supporters appreciate. So, and that, my name is Carolyn Clarkwith. I represent Mr. Pitts with Marion Searig, and today we have his nephew, Zebedee Pitts, who will be his guardian if he is granted parole. And Zebedee, we didn't have him prepare a statement, but he's happy to answer any questions that you would have for him.
Sure.
Mr. Pitts' family has always supported him. Mr. Pitts shared that he's been attending his uncle's parole hearings on and off since the late, I guess, 87 is the starting point. I think several of you have spoken with members of Mr. Pitts' family, his sister Claire, Mr. Pitts, Zebedee. Also, I want to make a point that we did waive Mr. Pitts' appearance to appear today. He has an ADA accommodation, which is why he's interviewed in person. The technology is difficult enough for our, individuals in custody that can hear the WebEx and everything, but for him, he likes to really focus on what people are saying to him, and he does better in person. Some of you have met him in person before, and I think you can affirm that, yeah. He, when you meet him in person, he is very pleasant. He's responsive. But the video link, it's hard sometimes when we have telephone calls with him. So that is why he's not here. But he is represented. So I know you all are familiar with his case. Something struck me on the earlier case, the first one where the attorney was talking about preparation. I think, again, we have that for Mr. Pitts. And the most critical aspect I'd like to point out, and I know we've discussed it, but we do have new board members, is the psychiatric care that no one disputes Mr. Pitts should receive is not happening in the Department of Corrections. To that end, we attached, and I know you've seen his parole petition a million times. Recently, in the last month, there was yet another article in the Sun-Times about the lack of medical care. Mr. Pitts will be 74 in July, not getting any younger. The family does have a history of dementia. He has an older brother, Richard. And my understanding is his dementia is quite, did he just, I'm sorry, he has now is deceased. Mr. Pitts is one of 11 children. But there is that family history. So preparation for Mr. Pitts on his parole plan. Mr. Coates mentioned at first identified offenders program. He's going to have a parole agent. And we need to stress that Central Nursing Home, who I know many of you heard from the administrator last year, made it very clear that they are very well aware of Mr. Pitts' mental health, his dementia, and his criminal history. They are there to provide a therapeutic environment, which we know he does well in. He has no tickets in the last 4 years. Preceding that, we understand he had this incident in Dixon, not minimizing it, not under psychiatric care at the time. We don't know if that actually was related to mental illness. A lot is unknown. But prior to that, we're headed to 50 years in custody for Mr. Pitts. And fortunately, he has pretty insignificant disciplinary history. He's kind of keeps to himself. He would be in his own room at Central. As Mr. Coates mentioned, a psychiatrist. I think at one point they said on staff, but the psychiatrist is a key component of this. And we understand the state is objecting, but what we want to again point out is it's not addressing that, yes, he will get what we all think, well, I'll speak for us and his family, would like him to have proper medical care at this point in his life. He is remorseful. No one, I think, can dispute that. He's always been remorseful. He said that to Mr. Boland, Mr. Grubbs, who's met him, Mr. Coates. He has one other thing about Central I want to point out too. Since we've last met, Illinois Prison Project has placed a few clients there through the Joe Coleman Act, no problem. And including one I believe had dementia. He also will be on this locked second floor, not 24th. That's our office. Second floor. He literally cannot leave. Okay. And there's staff everywhere. He would be in a single room if he uses the facility. There's someone outside where the shower is. To go down, it's like an exit door like this, but it's locked, and we went over there and the alarm will go off. Otherwise the elevator has a security code that only the staff knows. He would be. There's also a person sitting there. Yes. There's a person sitting there. So he can't go. I mean, you have to think about this too. It's not in the interest of the nursing home for Mr. Pitts to leave the facility. Also with Mr. Zebedee Pitts being his guardian, there's not going to be any question. I think the family certainly understands that Mr. Pitts needs medical care in a facility that Central has the services that they can provide for the family. Let's see, is there anything else? I know we discussed Mr. Pitts' case many times. We do think that this is the best option for him. He's not going to get psychiatric care in the DOC. I think we can all conclude that at this point. And if we're concerned that his offense, which rightfully so, related to his mental illness, maybe the fight, I don't know, but having the care of psychiatrists with the additional component of the dementia that is not going to get any better as he ages, given the length of time in custody for Mr. Pitts, is an appropriate resolution after 49 years for him.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if you have any questions for Mr. Zebedee Pitts?
We do.
Okay.
Mr. Grubbs, go ahead.
Actually, I was going to refer my question to Ms. Clarkquist.
Okay, sure.
Sorry.
You said something twice that piqued my interest.
Yep.
You used the word guardianship as opposed to power of attorney.
Right. Yes. Yes. That we looked into. I mean, the power of attorney, Miss Siri can speak about this better. She's the one who researched it.
No. I mean, if you recall, I'm the board member that wanted that done 2 years ago.
Well,
So I'm excited about it.
it will happen. But while Mr. Pitts is in custody, from what Miss Siri can go into more detail, it has to happen
In the county in which,
decides.
yes, I understand.
So it will happen, and we talked to Central about this. They like that too. It makes their life easier.
Thank you for your clarification.
Yeah.
And Ms. Seerig, just for clarification, I don't want to exclude anybody, but only 2 witnesses are allowed to speak. And so if we want Mr. Pitts to speak, then, sure, thank you.
Can I just ask a clarifying question of counsel? Sorry, sir. You referenced the unit that he's going to be in, which is a 24-hour locked floor. Is that the memory floor?
Yes, yes, it's for memory care.
Okay, because that makes a big difference for us to understand, at least for me, because when you have a nursing home, you have a nursing home that services different populations, which are staff secure, but the memory by statute, I believe legally, have to be locked
Yes.
because of the roaming. And
Yes.
so that is the floor he's going to be on, because
Yes.
that wasn't stated before. Okay, so he's
Yep,
going to be on
yes.
the memory
Yes.
unit.
Yes, absolutely. Second floor. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. Would someone have a question for Mr. Pitts or?
Or Mr. Pitts, would you like to share anything with the board today? Thank you for being here.
Deputy Pitts. Well, I'm Eddie's nephew, and I just want to, support my uncle in any way I can. I know there's not been a lot of communication with him because I remember when he got transferred to where he's at now, he was been filling out a visitation, and actually, I asked his lawyer, said, get him to send it to me, and when I got it, he couldn't put anything on there. He tried to put my name, his sister's name, and his niece's name, and it was just all messed up. So he don't write anymore. I haven't got a letter from him in years. And that visitation log that he sent me was because they was there to get him to send it to me. So he just says he just couldn't do it. And so he don't communicate by letter with anybody anymore at all. It's been years.
Okay. Thank you.
So I just want to clarify, you are willing to take guardianship and remain, because that's a heavy load to take on, because you're going to be like the parent, and anything that he does or needs, you'll be called upon to respond and sign and authorize and so forth.
Yes, I understand that. Yes, I am willing to.
Okay.
Does that include if he were to tell you that he wasn't happy at Central Nursing Home and he wanted to move out, that you would be telling him no?
That's correct. Yeah, he needs to be in a place where he can get some help. By now, his brother Richard that passed, he had that dementia pretty bad, and I got to go visit him a few times, and it was pretty rough to watch that.
So even if he finishes a parole period and he's done with his parole commitment, in your judgment as his prospective guardian, you would not be agreeing to him leaving Central Nursing Home?
Oh, no.
Thank you.
If I could add one more thing about Central, they prevent end of life care.
Okay.
So, and they're a sister facility of a place called Balmoral, which Mr. Grubbs had visited. So this is the plan for Mr. Pitts, period. There's no post-Central plan for Mr. Pitts unless it's within this Nivea nursing home.
Sure.
And just how soon following, if he was released, would you commit to beginning the guardianship process once he's residing in Cook County? How quick are you willing to make that happen?
Yeah, once is released and is there. And I want to point out one thing too, with his release, that would be handled by the Department of Corrections, we're not driving him to Central.
Understood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, of course. That's one of the first things we have to get the paperwork for. And yes, it's important for Mr. Pitts to have that.
Just looking for a commitment that the
We're very
process
committed to
will
Mr.
begin
Pitts.
immediately.
Yes, of course. We're very committed to Mr. Pitts and ensuring that his health and safety are taken care of by his nephew in the guardianship. It's not overnight. As you know, the court process can be very long. This process has been very long for Mr. Pitts and his family, but this is how we would appreciate the board if he would have this opportunity. I don't know how many years Mr. Pitts has left. He is pretty physically healthy, but the dementia, as we know, will not improve. And as Mr. Pitts has testified with his other uncle, Richard, it got pretty severe.
Any other questions? Ms. Buckley, can you turn your mic on, Ms. Buckley?
It keeps going off. I turned it on.
Oh, it's okay.
My question is, you kind of spoke to the fact that it looks like his last ticket was in 2022. He's since been doing well since since that time, or appears to have been, doing a lot better. So I think more the question is, are you stating that he's having some sort of problem in IDOC with care versus, because if he's showing signs of having issues, previously, now the care has changed to some point that he's doing well where he is. What is the...
Yeah, I appreciate your question. So Mr. Pitts' history throughout is he's been able to pretty much self-manage, as far as we can tell, his mental illness. He likes to exercise. He doesn't really interact with a lot of people. He's cordial. If you sat with him, some members here have. He's friendly and polite. And you'll see from the nursing notes from Lawrence, they always say he's very jovial, will respond. He gets redirected. But to your point, the dementia care, the Illinois Department of Corrections is not prepared to deal with that going forward. They don't provide him with psychiatric care. We always follow up on that and we get nothing from them. So to the extent that the board is concerned, the state's attorney is concerned about Mr. Pitts's mental health, well, he's not getting any mental health treatment, but he has been fine. His institutional history has been quite exceptional, given that he's been in custody 49 years. Again, not minimizing the 2022 incident, of course not. But making that long in Department of Corrections without a significant incident is quite remarkable. And I think it's a testament to Mr. Pitts's character and ability to sort of regulate his own behavior.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we will now go to opposition. Now it's on.
Can you hear me? Oh.
Yep, there we go.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon. So we, aside from our newest board members, we're just here less than a year ago in July of 2025 discussing the same exact placement site. And this board denied parole because they determined that it was not a sufficient placement site. I myself personally reached out to the Central Nursing Home on, I apologize, March 10th of this year. I spoke with Doreen Hickman, that's DOREEHICKMAN. When I spoke with her, she explained that the inmates, or excuse me, not inmates, the patients do share rooms, that the floors are not locked, that there is one security guard at the front. And when I asked her and I said specifically, what is the security's purpose? They said to prevent people from leaving. I asked her what happens if there's an incident of violence, and she said it's handled by social workers and administrators who are trained in de-escalation tactics, but are not trained to deal with serious violence, such as an incident like in 2022. And I'd like to segue into that incident just for a brief moment, because I'd like to reiterate that the victim needed a craniotomy, which is brain surgery, which means that a portion of his skull was removed and then put back on. That is a serious, serious incident. He could have been killed. With regards to the reports from IDOC about this incident, there was a witness who, excuse me, a witness who explained that he observed, quote, observed the petitioner throwing several closed fist strikes at Edmondson while Edmondson remained on the floor. The witness stated that several of the strikes caused Edmondson's head to come in contact with the floor, stated that the witness stated that Edmondson tried to stop the assault by throwing a nearby chair, and the petitioner would then yell, "Stay down," and keep striking Edmondson. The problem here is that Mr. Pitt's actions in the 2022 altercation are significantly similar to the murder he committed. He perceives or imagines a threat, and then he goes after that person until they're either incapacitated or dead. And I'm extremely sympathetic to his condition of dementia. I understand, but it's not safe for the other residents of Central Nursing Home. In addition, with regards to Mr. Pitt's claim that he's not receiving mental health care, on page 42 of his petition, there is a letter from 2019 dated February 19th, 2019. in which he was interviewed by Jamie Wiegand, an LCSW at the Dixon Correctional Center, who wrote in his report that he does not currently have a recent mental health diagnosis. He, referring to Mr. Pitts, does understand that he had some serious mental health concerns years ago. Mr. Pitts reports that his previous psychiatric hospitalization and his previous mental health treatment were beneficial in developing self-esteem, self-respect, and self-awareness. It was clear that by all accounts, Mr. Pitts' mental health diagnosis is in remission and has been for some years. Mr. Pitts verbalizes great insight into his paranoia and anxiety. Mr. Pitts on the next page, page 43, Mr. Pitts' understanding of his follow-up mental health needs and services is accurate. He is aware of how to access mental health services when needed. On page 40, there is another report from May 18th of 2021 in which, by Amy Watson, an LCSW at the Dixon Correctional Center. And in her report, she wrote that Mr. Pitts does not currently receive mental health treatment, but was able to state how to correctly seek out mental health treatment at Dixon CC if needed. He states he has not been prescribed psychotropic medications in over 35 years. And again, throughout this interaction, and again, in this report, 2021, he is aware, he being Mr. Pitts, is aware of how to access mental health services when needed. So frankly, the state is a little bit confused about how IDOC is not addressing his mental health issues. Give me one moment, I apologize. So yeah, the state's main concern here is the risk to the other residents of the nursing home who themselves are experiencing dementia, memory problems, end-of-life problems. And the concern that I have is, what if his roommate or someone in the hallway is holding a fork and he imagines a threat? I mean, the risk is just too high to other people who are also vulnerable, extremely vulnerable. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I respond?
I'm going to ask if there are any questions from any board members for Ms. Kwam before we move on to rebuttal. Sure.
I apologize.
Now it's
One
on.
thing I'd like to add about going back to the phone call I had with Miss Doreen Hickman at Central Nursing Home, who's an administrator. I asked her about if there's an incident of serious violence, what happens, and then she said it's handled by social workers and administrators who have training in de-escalation, but not training in serious violence. If there is an incident of serious violence, they will call the police. Then Doreen, of her own volition, without my prompting, said that it's Chicago and the police take a while to respond. So then I directly asked her and I said, has that been your experience, that when you call the police because of an incident, the police take take time to arrive? They don't come immediately. And she said, yes. So the risk is just too high. And again, I want to reiterate that the state's attorney's office is extremely sympathetic to his dementia diagnosis. But we also have to balance his diagnosis and his needs with the needs and the risk to the other people that he would be living around. And frankly, the Central Nursing Home just doesn't have the necessary security, and its employees do not have the necessary training in order to deal with an incident of serious violence like what occurred in 2022. That's it.
Thank you for that testimony. Is there any questions for Ms. Kwam at this time? I will just note that there was significant opposition that we discussed in from the victims that we discussed in closed session. Okay. Oh, we're now going to rebuttal.
Yeah, so just the 22 incident, the witness did not see how it instigated. And we're not here to relitigate that. No one's disputing that. We're also not disputing the fact that that was one fight in 49 years. The state's attorney makes it sound like he's a menace to all these people around him. If that were the case, his disciplinary history would show that. Additionally, we went to Central Nursing Home. I don't know who the state's attorney talked to. We certainly were not present for this conversation. We went there. We toured the facility. They said to us, and you saw this woman, and she answered your questions at the in-bond last summer. Will he have his own room? Yes. Is the floor locked? Yes. We've been there. I trust them to make a decision about who can be admitted to their facility. It's not the state's attorney's role to decide who Central Nursing Home can admit to their facility. They had all the information that they wanted, that requested everything that they needed. We gave to them. So I'm not quite sure, given Mr. Pitts' 49-year history, given the fact that Central Nursing Home is comfortable with Mr. Pitts being a resident, and this is a therapeutic environment, unlike the Department of Corrections, and there is not adequate medical care in the Department of Corrections. There's just not. So I don't know what the state's attorney's point was that Mr. Pitts 7 years ago is not asking for a certain type of medical care. Well, Mr. Pitts now has dementia. He also has a roommate that he's not bothering. He never has any infractions. The staff likes him. The board members who have met him, I think, could say fairly, he's pleasant. And I think that this is the appropriate parole plan for Mr. Pitts. It is also the only parole plan for Mr. Pitts that's available to him.
Thank you for that testimony. Do any board members have any comments, any discussion at this time regarding this case? Okay, with that, I'll go to my motion. I do want to start by saying this is a challenging case and one that can have multiple perspectives with reasonable minds differing at the conclusion of it. In recent years, I've been in opposition of parole release due to Mr. Pitts' May of 2022 fighting ticket and the risk to public safety should Mr. Pitts have a mental health episode that causes him to be violent. My perspective from recent years has evolved. As I review and consider his disciplinary ticket history in the past 28 years, while he has received disciplinary tickets, only one of them was for violence, that being the physical altercation with an inmate from May of 2022. That was almost 4 years ago. And while I would still call that incident a severe and violent fight that led to that inmate needing brain surgery, when I consider the totality of the past 28 years of his behavior, he in fact has not been violent. To the best of Mr. Pitts' ability, he's tried to manage his mental health to be stable and to use exercise, among other things, as a coping strategy. I do believe with the proper support and a sound parole plan, he could be successful on parole and could also conform to reasonable conditions of parole. It does appear that he has that support and parole plan with Central Nursing Home, a facility that is well equipped to address his progressing dementia and his mental health diagnosis. Mr. Pitts would require 24-hour monitoring and advanced care, and that is what he would receive. Mr. Pitts has served over 49 years, and as I consider the victim's family and their consistent years of engagement within this process to express their opposition of release for Mr. Pitts, I acknowledge and recognize their pain. I recognize the significant loss of Mr. King to their family, and for them, I can understand how 49 years doesn't feel like enough, given the loss and impact that this has had on their family. I do feel today that after 49 years, a release to parole would not deprecate the seriousness of the offense or promote a disrespect for the law. Given Mr. Pitts' parole plan with Central Nursing Home, I feel should he struggle with his mental health or dementia, he will be in a secure facility that is best equipped to support and guide Mr. Pitts during those moments, if they should occur. Given this, I do feel that the risk Mr. Pitts would pose to public safety is significantly reduced. With that, and after considering all of the statutory factors, my motion is to grant parole.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Please call the vote.
Mr. Coates,
Yes.
Mr. Grubbs,
Yes.
Mr. Heaton,
Yes.
Ms. Lemons,
Yes.
Ms. Schaffner,
Yes.
Ms. Tarones,
Yes.
Mr. Tupy,
Yes.
Mr. Boland,
No.
Ms. Buckley,
No.
Okay. With a vote of 7-2, motion to grant parole passes. That is the conclusion of this case, and we'll transition to the next one.
After a short break. After break.
Well, that laughing will see highly inappropriate if he goes and kills someone, won't it? He was officially paroled on April 13th of 2026. By the time I'm completing this recording, June 29th of 2026, I do not see that he has done anything wrong, at least in the news. Now, I've been contemplating to call the old age home and ask about him, maybe, or just ask about a scenario of a similar patient. Paint a picture. Oh, I have someone who is had murdered someone once, and a few years ago they sent someone to the hospital with a brain injury, and they're going through some cognitive things. They're actually quite strong still. They weigh 220 pounds at 5'11". They work out every day. Been working out for the past 50 years. Yeah, like, can I have them come to your facility? I'd be wondering what they would say, and that would be, a different level of investigative reporting, right? Gosh, I'm tempted to do it. And it was interesting. Just a year later, like, someone's gonna have to explain to me, like, I don't know, just explain it very simply. Like I'm a cognitively challenged person. What changed from last year exactly? You know, It was a denial last year. They schooled that person who came in to testify in person. Those advocating to release him were like, I don't know what's changed. They testified here. And we all saw with our own eyes just how horrible that testimony went, how it brought no reassurance, no warm and fuzzy feelings. It was not a facility meant to handle someone like this. And the prosecution spoke perfectly, said exactly, actually, even bringing up the reference, like what I said with the forks, like he can see someone walking by with a fork and perceive it as a threat. He has spent the last 50 years of his life in a situation where you can't have a fork. He's gonna be hoarding shanks. I would love to speak to the nurses there that I have to. It's so bizarre. It really is. He was sentenced to 300 years in prison, and it's like, you know what? Let's just let him out. Let's just let him out because it'll be nicer for him to live there. And it's the strangest thing. He's so dangerous. Can you imagine? They said, oh, if he opens the door to leave, a siren will go off. Okay. And then what? And they have someone standing there. Okay. And then what? Like, it's like they just don't, they're saying things that make no sense. If you are a man intent on hurting someone, like they said over and over, the best thing that they can do is call the police. And the police will take a long time to come. What are they going to do if he's on top of a nurse? On top of another patient. We've seen what he can do in prison. It's like let's have empathy for someone who murdered someone because they have psychiatric problems and they're violent. They've been violent in prison. Just 4 years ago, they sent a man to the hospital, almost killed him. Let's go send him to a different location so he can have a better life. And if he kills someone or severely hurts someone, that's the risk we're willing to take on behalf of the public. It makes no sense. There's no reason to do it. There's no rush to do it. He's doing fine where he is. This isn't about having, it's like, as soon as you make the argument, oh, where's your empathy, Mandoo? Where's your empathy? As you sip your latte, where's your empathy, Mandoo? It's like, well, no, what do you mean, where's my empathy? Hold on, let me have my protein shake, so I can come right back at you with them. My empathy is for all the potential victims that he might create. All of those people who have their parents that they want to be able to sleep at night, not knowing that there is someone out there that can literally snap because he has a history of snapping. Everyone who knows anything about this says dementia it can make you even more violent. It's the craziest thing. And so I don't think it goes well. I have no idea how something like this can go well and why the parole board granted now. I guess they have new parole board members, but nothing changed. You know something else? They kept him. See, they had a long docket this day, and they had inmates coming from the same age range, same prison. They all got on the video. The video was fine. There was no technical problems. There was no ifs and ands or buts. They purposely did not want him on the video because they knew that it wouldn't help. They had something to hide. That's the truth. That's the truth. And they try to gaslight us by saying, "Oh, he couldn't. You met him, but he couldn't get on the video." Sure, no, they knew that the best thing, because I don't know, maybe he's a really big man, maybe he's rough around the edges, maybe he would have, they just, it's like why put your client on the stand when you don't know what can go wrong? Let's just keep him hidden. And it's like the only one with common sense in the room is the prosecution. I guess a few parole board members that denied, but now here he is. Somehow a year later, he's granted. Guys, this is crazy. I do think that it will be in the news. I think he's going to hurt someone. I just don't. Maybe it won't make the news. Maybe they'll try to hide it. There'll be some settlement. But can you imagine? It's scary stuff. They're just not set out to handle someone like this. Like thing is, they just don't understand, or they choose not to understand. But he has been living in like a gladiator arena for since 1977. He has been living in a world where you have to look over your shoulder every second. He has been living in a world where all he could use is a spork. He's been living in a world where it's the strong kill the strong. And all of a sudden he's going to be in this place with timid, vulnerable people, and as much knives and forks that the heart can desire. What do you think is going to happen? All right. With that, I'll let you go.